Tony Messenger, good morning this morning.
Good morning, McGraw. Good morning, Kelly.
Hi, Tony.
You had an interesting column the other day, and you've had a couple of interesting columns. I don't know what's going on with you.
That's good. It's good to hear, man. I write 4 of them a week. I hope 1 or 2 of them are interesting.
I like the Glendale story, only for lots of reasons. But we talk about inefficiencies in government, and a lot of people said they didn't want to vote for Prop P in the city because there were too many inefficiencies in the government. And I said, well, wait a minute, we prefer inefficiencies in our government. That's why we have 82 police stations and, 67 some odd fire districts. And then you come out with the story about Glendale and their service, in which everyone agrees it's not a very good service, but they're paying more money for it, and that's the way they want to keep it.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where it's just sort of maddening to the folks who take a look at it from the outside, like me. So Glendale has its own dispatch service for police and fire, and the way they have it set up, the person who does the dispatching is a police employee and also has other duties with the police department while they're dispatching. And there's one dispatcher on duty. And I don't know if you've ever been in a dispatch office. I've been in quite a few of them. They're pretty cool. They're high tech. It's amazing how they're set up. Good dispatch offices. You can't dispatch with one person because 2 calls come in, or that person has to take a break or something else. And so what you get is the response that, for instance, I got in an email after that column ran from a resident of Glendale who said, "Oh, this is amazing. I didn't realize that this problem was going on, other than the fact that my wife saw an accident outside of our window a couple of months ago and called 911 and was put on hold, got a voicemail." And so that's the problem. And so Glendale has known it has this problem. It's not up to all of the various state and national standards of a dispatch center. The firefighters in particular have been pushing, look, there's a regional dispatch center. You can save money. You can raise standards and use that money for, increased pay for police or fire or whatever you want to use it for. And the city did a study that came out in September in which the conclusion was really clear. It's better operationally if you contract out. It will save the city money if you contract out. And, oh, by the way, you're in the process of building a new fire station, so why don't you make this decision before you dedicate a bunch of money for a dispatch center? And the Board of Aldermen is pushing back, and the mayor and the city administrator are at least saying, well, we need to do one more study. We need to take another look. The concern from Kurt Becker, who's the vice president of the fire union, is that he thinks they're slow playing this, and they're going to go ahead and build out the dispatch center in the new fire station, and then at some point the board will say, well, we already built it, so let's just go ahead, and it would be silly to tear it down now. And that's his concern. The objective information says Glendale should not be operating its own dispatch center. Go ahead and consolidate. But part of what is going on in our community right now as we continue to push towards a greater understanding in the entire St. Louis region that we have a need to consolidate our governments is when push comes to shove, it's really hard to make that first decision because you realize if I can do without dispatch, what else can I do without? If I can do without a fire chief, what else can I do without? And all of a sudden, you're having an actual serious conversation about, does my municipality need to exist? Does the budget problem in the county that is on the front page of the Post-Dispatch today lead to a discussion about whether or not the city and the county should be operating together? All of those discussions grow, and the momentum grows towards an understanding that we probably should not have 89 municipalities in the county. And that, to me, is why these decisions are so hard to make, because people don't want to see the end of the rainbow.
Right.
Where these decisions are ultimately going to go.
How much money would Glendale save by doing away with their dispatch office, and how many people would lose their job?
Nobody would lose their job. They'd save about $45,000. In fact, they would hire. In fact, they would gain jobs. So what would happen is they would stop doing their own dispatch. They would contract with the regional dispatch center. There's a couple of different ones that they could contract with. East Central is probably the one that they would contract with. That organization would probably hire their existing dispatchers, and then the police department would actually hire somebody to deal with some of the secretarial and administrative stuff that they were also pushing on to the people doing dispatch.
Right.
And they would still save $45,000 a year. And that was in 2014 numbers. They studied this in 2014, came back and said, you would save a lot of money if you did this. And they said, no, we're not ready to do that. They studied it again, and then they studied it again in 2017. And the 2017 study, the way I read it, the way Kurt Becker from the fire union reads it, I posted it online. You know, people can go read it themselves. I thought it was pretty clear. It was a slam dunk. The city's interpretation is, well, it gave us a few options, and now we're going to study some more and decide what to do. I think it's
maddening.
A clear situation in which this is one of those things. It's time to consolidate it. It's time to accept the fact that Glendale doesn't need its own dispatch service.
It was so the response since the column ran, Tony Messenger.
I got emails from people in Glendale saying, wow, I didn't realize this was happening. My city is wasting money. I got the one that I talked about from somebody who said they called dispatch
right.
And got voicemail. That's the response I'm getting. I would suspect that the Glendale Board of Aldermen is hearing from some of its citizens unhappy that they have yet to make a decision.
Did you get any emails saying, hey, leave us alone, you carpetbagger. We like our dispatch just the way it is?
Not a single one, which is interesting because every time I write about city-county consolidation, I get a few that tell me to go home to my little bunker in Wildwood and leave everybody else alone.
Right.
I didn't get one this time. Perhaps it's okay for the columnist from Wildwood to write about Glendale. When the columnist from Wildwood writes about black people, then it's not okay.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which line I have to cross before the readers get mad at me for where I live. But in this case, I only got responses from people that were taxpayers who don't want their money wasted.
Yeah. Well, also, I've been busy, so I haven't been able to write that email to you yet. So I need to.
Right. Get on it. Let's go.
Tony, have a good week. Thanks for checking in. Good stuff.
To talk to you.
All right.
Bye.
That story is one that you want to scratch your head.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And then you get people calling, we need efficiency. We have inefficiency. We like the inefficiencies. That's why we have the inefficiencies, because when somebody tries to get rid of a dispatcher and save some money and get better service and save money, nobody wants